morning, everyone, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. I am the Badass Buddha. We had some login issues this morning, and then to top it off, we were already late with that, and then Facebook kicked us off. But we are back on Facebook, so we're good. So good morning to Kathy, who was on first, and Gail with the Empowering Process podcast, and we have Milagros in the house. And Evelyn, 3 times the glam. So good morning. I am the Badass Buddha Lori Monaco, coming to you from a chilly Eastern Tennessee, but it's really pretty outside. It's sunny. There's frost on the ground, so it is chilly, but it looks like a beautiful morning.
There you go. And here I still have this cough, and it's hurting my ribs and the front of my stomach so bad that I don't care about coughing. It just scares me every time I have to cough because the pain is intense in my ribs and my stomach muscles. So I'll probably be going into the ER today, since they never got back to me about the chest x-ray from my doctors. Because, good morning, mi gente. Because let's just make it great. Okay? Aquí con la Margarita, your gladiator guru. It's kind of chilly out here too. You know what I love? I love looking at the trees with the long branches and the leaves dancing in the wind. But I love to see them like standing proud, without just naked and true warriors, right? Facing the weather, and whether it's snowing, raining, or frigid cold, the trees are just there like, try me. You know, I love it.
Try me.
Yeah, because they stand so strong and tall, and they have nothing to show to them but that they're all their need. And sometimes when you're lost, man, they go out in nature and look around and look at those trees. They have nothing protecting them, shielding them, nowhere for them to hide, no hole for them to crawl into. They have to stand there tall, believing that they are exactly the best thing in their lives, and they're going to weather the storms until the sun shines on them again. So
that's a great way to start the show today, and I love that. You're right. It's like they're there, they're naked, they're standing in the cold, knowing that in a little while they'll be able to regrow everything again, and they'll start from scratch. And so that's actually pretty powerful.
And that's true love. That's true love, and standing your ground, building your boundaries, has solid foundation.
It's love. Welcome to February. This is the love month. We are going to talk about nothing but love this month. So happy February to you. And I was thinking of you this morning, Gladiator Guru, as I was making the coffee, because I said to myself, we have not talked about coffee in a while, and now I actually have some very good coffee to talk about, because my sister and my daughter got home yesterday, very, very early in the morning, and they brought back a whole bunch of goodies, including cacao and they to make tea. They brought back I think spices. They brought back quinoa. They brought back chocolate, and they brought back coffee. So today I've made, it's a very Spanish name. It's Origins, but it's Quillabamba, and it's from Cusco, Peru. And this is the packaging, which is really
it's beautiful.
Right?
The gold names, Origins.
The coffee is so yummy. Like, it is so good. I purposely drank it black. I'm not a big fan of black coffee, but I'll drink it black, especially when I'm doing the clean diet program. But it was so good black, even. Like, it had no bitterness. It was just wonderful. So I did, so that's what I'm drinking this morning. She also brought back Colombian coffee. So we'll try that on a different day.
Yesterday my son took me out to this place in Black Rock, and they had several different coffees. And I said, the only dark roast was Copenhagen. And I was like, Amsterdam coffee? I don't know, but I tasted it, and it was really good. It was really strong. I had that kickback. But when you said I rarely drink black coffee, neither do I. Whenever I got to remind myself that I indeed am an adult and I have to adult shit for the rest of the day, I'll have a shot of black coffee. But it's very rarely.
It's very adult, but it's amazing the difference for like how even the smell, like the smell of the coffee was just so different. And it's funny because my mom's old school. She buys like the can, that big gigantic can of like chock full of nuts or Folgers or Maxwell House, and even like I'm not a coffee connoisseur. I'm not like you. However, when one day when I actually bought my own coffee, like I bought a different brand because we would just, make coffee for everybody in the house. The smell of the coffee was so noticeably different. And like smelling the coffee that she had, in the can, and then smelling the other package of coffee that I bought, I was like, oh my God, it was awful. And from that point going forward, I could never, ever drink any of those other coffees because the smell was just like absolutely unbearable. But thinking that the coffee that I was buying was also great, you're spending more money, it's smaller packages, blah, blah, blah. But then to smell this coffee, I'm like, wow, I have not smelt coffee in the US. And mind you, I get stuff that's from other countries, like it'll be packaged here or whatever, but it's still different. Like this is just phenomenal. It smells so good and it tastes so yummy. You're on mute, my love.
I'm coughing horrendously. I said that is awesome too. I even enjoy what is terrible coffee because then I'll never make that mistake again, money wise, time wise, taste bud wise. So I mean, every lesson is good with that. But yeah, so good morning, everyone. Gail, Kathy, Jaya, Evelyn, Milagros.
Yeah, and speaking of Milagros, I know Milagros is a tea drinker. So my sister also brought back cacao for tea. It's this big, it's the shells, and then you steep it. So anytime Milagros, you're ready to come down and visit, we will brew you a beautiful pot of cacao tea. And actually, I can't wait to try it myself. It smells so good. It's literally the shells. But you smell the bag because the bag ripped, so I had to put it into a Ziploc bag, and all you smelled as I'm pouring it was chocolate. I was like, "Oh my God, this smells so good." So I can only imagine what that tea must taste like. Very excited.
Yes, can you? That is awesome.
So good morning, everybody, and welcome to February 1st. It is the love month. So really what we're going to be talking about today is just an introduction of what we're going to be doing for the entire month. But we're going to be pushing you because it's all about love. This is, don't get caught up in that negative headspace of February 14th. It's a manufactured holiday. It was made by the Hallmark people. You know what? Who cares? If it's a day that people focus on love, then let them. But what we're going to do is we're going to kick it up a notch and we're going to focus on it for every single day of February. We get an extra day because it's a leap year and we have a show on our leap year. We're going to end though with leap to your purpose. And then March we'll be talking about purpose. So the other challenge that we had for you was that we wanted you to start reading The Alchemist. And we're going to be reading it throughout the whole entire month. If you want to get it, I mean, you could literally read this thing in a weekend. So you could sit this weekend and just honor yourself and just read the book like crazy, or you could space it out and just read a little bit at a time. But we will bring up conversation with every time that we talk about each day that we talk about love, and because we're going to be talking about variations of it. It pertains to a lot of the information that's in The Alchemist. If you've ever read the book, it's a journey of self. And you end up coming back around to where you started, but it's finding yourself. And the biggest part of finding yourself is falling in love with yourself. So we're going to be talking about things. We're going to be talking about self-love, obviously. We're going to be talking about centering self. Or centered self. We're going to be talking about frequency of love. We're going to be talking about the love languages. We're going to be talking about conditional and unconditional love, and your happily ever after. That's how we're going to end before leaping into our purpose. So this is exciting. This is an exciting month. I don't think we don't really emphasize. We've never emphasized, right, Gladiator, a whole month on love. Never a whole month.
No, because love, you know what? As much as humans go out there and try to obtain love, try to give their love, and then in the end fuck it up because then they're demanding more than they even recognize what love is about. So to have a whole month of this show of love and to just really break it down, which I'm gonna do my best to break it down and the badass Buddha so that we can explain that love is love. Love is not cruel, it's not anything but love. It just simply is. So to learn how to love yourself, I think that's the biggest challenge you will ever face in your life. And for those to say, "Oh, I love myself," you know what? I think badass. I think we need to come up with a questionnaire on that because I have met people who tell me, "Oh, I love myself. Ain't nobody could tell me nothing," and they're the most insecure people that I have ever met. And I'm a hopeless romantic. When I love hard. When I'm with someone, I love hard. And then questions pop up, and I always ask, was I ever fully loved the way I loved? And then I'm like, it don't matter, because either you're gonna be the love that you deserve, or you're gonna be the love that you want to see in everything you do. So it really doesn't matter how someone figures out on the scale of loving you, because that really isn't your business. You love. I think when you go out there and people are kind to you and they're happy when they see you, everybody loves on a different scale. Everybody's love language is different, yet the same, right? We all want and need something. But I think when we start off with the self love, it doesn't matter who's bringing you candy on February 14th. I'm one of those people the badass Buddha was talking about. Never celebrated Valentine's Day. I think it's a cock of shit. I think it is the biggest, most depressive thing they put on females and males, where I can't believe he didn't buy me nothing or he didn't buy me what I want. So if you are that love in which you seek, nobody can really unlove you or not love you enough. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, Milagro, we need to have another Moments con Margarita.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Because
Well, we need to have her on too. Although I know she's working, but that
we
would
had
be
the
actually
vagina
fun.
one when we did Moments con Margarita about the vagina. And I had people always say, when are you going to have another one of those? But she's right. When we love our bodies, knowing we're a work in progress till we die, mi gente. So don't ever think that what it is where you're going to be at. Badass Buddha's always talking about bettering your health, maintaining your weight, or reaching your goal weight. But she never says it with any other than, this is where I'm at. And she puts it out there because to me, that's leading the way into we are constantly a work in progress. There's gonna be, she tells you about when she lost the weight and then she gained it and what she went through, and she's lost some more and she's working on it. Every time she says that, I take it as that's such an important tool to have, because life is like this. It's not like this. And when you have a life that's like this and one like this, guess who finishes first? This one, because you have the momentum. You have the momentum. You come down, but remember, everything that goes up must come down.
Well, and if you utilize the momentum, though, that's just it, and that's where the self-love piece comes in. Because if you are, I mean, like, so my thing with the weight loss journey, I was a certain weight for many years. Then I lost it, but I maintained a very specific weight, about 180, and then I went down to my goal weight of 145. I hit it, and then all of a sudden, it's like I slowly started to creep up for an entire year. And then at the very peak, this time last year, I was 178. It's like I went right back up to that. And then I managed to lose the weight. So I'm now, and I did, like, over the summer, I got down to like 154. And then I'm back. Now I'm like at 162. And I've been maintaining that, but that's not my goal. Like I didn't want to stay there. But in the end, what really was happening was my lack of self-love. Like my weight is directly related to how much I really love myself. You know, if I don't respect myself or want to be seen, I put on the pounds. It's like armor. And I know Gladiator Guru talks about this. There's a lot of people that do that. You know, that's why the motto when I'm helping people lose weight is it's not just what you're eating, it's what's eating you. Because if you don't deal with that stuff, you're never going to get rid of the weight. You'll get rid of it, and then it'll come back on. But it starts with self-love. Because if you say but here's the thing: if you say I love myself at this weight, like if you're thicker, then guess what? You'll stay that way. But doesn't mean it necessarily is an unhealthy thing. It's just statistically we see that, you know, the more weight we have on, the more it increases. But you still have to love yourself. That's why women who strut out there being thicker and they like, I look sexy. That's actually a very beautiful headspace to be in. And in the end, it's healthier. You have people that are thin, but they don't love themselves. And then they're getting all these health issues. So there's still that correlation of how we feel about ourselves.
You need to, yeah, absolutely right. And we talked about this, and we're going to have a show on it going forward. But love is, let me see what Madeline wrote. Read it.
She said, love is when you can see yourself or someone else happy, genuinely happy and fulfilled with the life you want for them or yourself, even if it doesn't include them in it or you in it. Yes, that's a big one. And that's when you know a person is also very secure, because if the individual says they want you to be happy, but yet they do everything in their power to sabotage it because they want what they want, that's not a person. First of all, that's not a person that loves you. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about towards the end of the month, we're going to be talking about conditional and unconditional love. So that's going to be, and we're going to build up to that, because loving yourself first helps you understand what unconditional love is and the fact that you deserve it. You're muted, honey. You're muted. Muted.
Unconditional love is like no one gets it. Unconditional, even the word unconditional, because they'll say, "Oh, I am conditional," and the next thing out their mouth has conditions. We're all guilty of it.
It's tough. It's tough.
And so, I mean, there's so many baby steps to get to the other side of you that we miss those steps. And then some of us fall in, we hit our heads, it's all disappointments and what we consider failures because we're missing certain steps, and not like literally missing it, like not being fully engaged in every step that takes us to the other side of me. So if you're here and you need to get to you over here, you have to be with an open mind, with unconditional acceptance of what you're going to weather from this side of the river to this side. And a lot of us don't want to invest in that. The love isn't there yet. So what's that word I'm looking for? So if the full love affair with yourself isn't there, then the full commitment to truly be one with every step is not going to be there.
Well, and let's define love. So we're actually we're going to have one whole week of unconditional love. We're going to have one whole week of unconditional love. And that's like February 20th and February 22nd. And we're going to really get into it, because Gladiator Guru is right. A lot of times we think we know what it is, but then we put conditions on stuff, you know, and even when we say, because I'm guilty of this, we don't want conditions, whether it's love or anything else, but then we turn around and put conditions on. So that's going to be a very important conversation. Mm-hmm. But let's start with what love is. So we're going to ask you. So thank you for sharing. For those of you that are sharing, we have a lot of people on today. Please make sure that you still do share. And for those of you that are on that we can't see, say hi in the comments. Let us know that you're here so that we could say hello to you. tell us what you think love is. Put it in the comments. What do you think love is? What does it encompass? How it, and there's no wrong answer here. Really, there's no wrong answer. We don't want to put you on the spot, but we're curious to see what you think love is. And we already see that some people are already putting, stuff out there. But what do you think it is? What's your definition? Gladiator Girl, what's your definition of love?
I determine love with being authentic, as much as I hate that word. When someone shows up as they are. I when someone shows up in their true essence, not watching what words they say, not their man, just being who they are. I think kindness and gratitude in a person who's real and doesn't care who likes them or not. To me, that's a person loved by self, which is the most important love. To me, love is me respecting and honoring myself. That when I walk somewhere, I have integrity and I'm going to say yes or I'm going to say no. And I'm going to walk away on my merry self and do what I feel like I should be doing with my time in my life. My self love is not being a Captain Save a Hole, which I think we all learn. To me, love is love. It's an acceptance, like that. I always say, my husband who passed away, we were like a true love story because he accepted me and all my crazies. And when he needed to just raise his voice a little to calm me down out of my rage, he did it. And because he has such a calmness in his soul, when the first time he told me, cut the shit already, Margie, which is so out of his character, I looked at him and laughed. And when I laughed, that broke the rage from spiraling. So I always said we were a sad love song, sad love story, because when you finally meet someone who sees and loves you for who you really are, then they die. And that was my
Yeah.
story. The
Yeah.
end.
He was
And so,
definitely a season.
yeah, so to me, love is seeing me for who I am and accepting me for who I am and complimenting what I am and that I can also do the same for you. That's it.
And for self. That's
Well,
the
yeah,
other
if
thing.
they
Yeah.
are, well, they can only do that if I can only accept you as who you are because I accept myself and I know that we match even though we're different. And that's because all my partners have always been the polar opposite of me. And I'm like, what the hell? Why do I keep doing this? I need that because who the hell needs another Margie in my life? I'll pass.
I like, so Madeline wrote, love is showing the world all the golden nuggets that God deposited in us to the world and helping others discover their nuggets. Milagros put, for me, life and death. I like what Amanda put here, and I'm going to add something to this. Amanda said, unconditional respect, value one another, and accept them for who they truly are.
Yeah.
And accept ourselves too. Like that's the other piece is everything you just wrote, not just to other people, but to us as well. And I think that's where when we start talking about unconditional and conditional, the reason we put conditions because we're putting them on ourselves as well. So we have an expectation of what, because we fall short in our own eyes, and then that's how we see other people, and we have an expectation that they need to provide this because we're lacking in that. And that's why falling in love with yourself is the first love. Well, as Margie always says, her first love is God. And then self, and it's to whatever your practice is. If it is a higher power, it's God, that's fine, that's first. But you have to be in that lineup. You can't be like, oh, I love this person, I love my child, I love my spouse, I love my mother, I love my father, and then here I am.
No.
And when you're taught that, when you're basically taught everybody goes first, that is the least loving thing that you could ever do to yourself.
Yes, but listen, we talk about unconditional love and respect and honor, and you're not going to receive that from anybody if you're not the spitting image of what you want. So remember that. So many people get disappointed, and I hear people, yesterday I was saying something to somebody, and they still came back around and goes, yeah, but
Yeah, but
conversation over. conversation over. Because they want to know that, they want you to think and know that they know and that they're on the right track. I don't have time for your bullshit because that's your shit, not mine. So when you're looking for unconditional love and respect and everything, remember, before you seek someone with those values, you have to possess them.
Right.
Because that's how you, with your gut instinct and your I spy with my eye bullshit, are going to see right through the people who are your people. So we talk about unconditional love, yet because we lack it, we put expectations on people. And it can be your mother, your father, it can be your siblings, your friends, and of course, your partner. So, you know what? I read once, I don't know if it was Carl Jung. I love Carl Jung. Where he said, or Aristotle, I don't remember. I'm going to find it because I still have it. Where they said that love is too huge for humans to understand. This is why we always get it wrong. Love is God. And unless you don't understand, we're never going to get what the value of love is, because we're humans and we're flawed. And until you understand your true value, you walk in your true integrity, you stop fucking lying to yourself. That love, that aura, that energy you're going to put out there is what you're going to attract. But you have to be, as the way we are with our partner, you better not cheat, you better not do this. I thought you loved me. Talk to yourself like that until you get it right. Because it is complicated. And Milagros said life and death. Milagros, people still cannot grasp death. And it's hard, and you're going to cry, and you're going to say, oh my God, but I don't understand. And he was old, and he was young, and it was so sudden, or it took him forever to die. Death, no, there's no preparation for it, but that is the balance of life.
Yes.
And guess what happens when someone dies that you love so much? What happens, Laura? You move on. You still got to get up. You got to go to work. You still got to pay bills. You're still going to be sad. You're going to lug around that sorrow. That grief will always be in your back pocket till death do you part. But it is the balance of life. So, mi gente, you are the purpose of your life. There's no one like you. Learn to love yourself from top to bottom. And then in that love, you're going to notice what you need to tweak, remove, or what you need to build on. It's you. You are that sky rise. You are that 7-digit bank account you so much are working towards. You are everything you desire outside of you. So start putting the work into yourself. That's love. That's true love.
I love what Yaya wrote. I was in an 8-year relationship. Was I happy? No. Why the fuck did I stay? Who the fuck knows? And I'm now in a 2-year relationship, and I'm the happiest person I've been, and I feel in love. And I feel in love in a week. Why? Because he showed me that what love really was, and I gained 160 pounds, and I'm happy.
You gained 160, or you're weighing 160?
You weigh, yeah. You're weighing 160. Yeah. The thing is that, people, it's not saying that we cannot learn from other people. That's one thing I want to make very clear, because sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to say, well, if it's self-love, I have to figure this out myself, and I got to do it all by myself. No, sometimes people come and are put into our world so that it can help us and guide us. They're teachers. We still have to do the work. It's just like every time. I mean, I love when Gladiator Guru talks about Eric. I love it because, in fact, I want to sit down with her one day and just for like 2 straight hours, just have her talk about him, because it is a beautiful love story, because she learned so much about herself in the time that they were together, going through what she went through. And he just was who he was. Like, he was so okay with who he was that he accepted her for who she was, but he also called her out on her shit. So, like, the stuff that he knew that was not authentic, the stuff that was BS that she was hiding, He didn't argue with her. He was just like, okay, enough. Like he had his way. And that's what she needed. She didn't need somebody to argue with her. She needed somebody to just be like matter of factly. But he taught her things that she had never dealt with before. And that's the beauty, is people will come into your life and they'll be like, you know, they'll accept you for who you are, but they also see, you know, they love you for everything. They love you even with your flaws, but they also know that there's so much more to you. But their goal in life is not to fix you. Their goal in life is to just let you see what's there and you fix yourself. Yep. That's the beauty of it, is that, you know, sometimes these people do come into our lives, and you have to be grateful, because they've opened your eyes. They allowed you to see things that you didn't see before. And it is all about you. And it might be that they come in for a week. It might be that they come in for 6 months. And it might be they come in for 2 years. And it might be that they come in for a lifetime. But when we close ourselves to our growth, when we still allow the people and situations to stay in our life that prevent us from growing and loving ourselves even more, we don't leave space to allow these people and situations to come in that will help us get to the next level. And it's a harsh reality, because like Yaya said, why did I stay for 8 years? How many of you out there have asked yourselves, why did I stay? Blah, blah. You fill in the blank. How many
This
years?
is love.
Good
this
morning.
Is love. Say good morning. She's going to school now.
Yay.
But yes, you know that you look so pretty. Go ahead. You're on a roll.
Yeah, I forgot. Oh no, she said, Yaya says I'm 145. Had to lose a little doctor's order because my height, but I was 100 pounds for 8 years. But I was 100 pounds for 8 years. I wasn't. You were over 100 pounds, or you were 100 pounds? I'm not quite understanding. I'm sorry. But it's a reflection. It's a reflection of who we are based on our situation. I mean, I look back at myself, and I did not love myself at all. And I still struggle sometimes, because if you truly love yourself, you'll also know what you deserve, and you'll respect yourself, and you will basically be like, yes, that's okay. Or no, that's not okay. That's okay in my life. That's not okay in my life. You gain clarity when you love yourself. You have a purpose. You have goals. I mean, they have to be like crazy goals. They're just like, this is what I want in my life, and this is what I don't want. You know what you tolerate and what you can't tolerate. Remember, we talked about that on Tuesday's show. Did you write your list of what am I tolerating in my life? What is okay to tolerate and what's not? All again, self-love. You know, one of the big things for me in my my finding of self and falling in love with self was boundaries. Boundaries are a really big thing for me, to the point where I get very angry when my boundaries are messed with. But the real anger is coming with myself, because I have to allow my boundaries to be messed with. If I don't stand up for myself and say, and just assume people are going to know, then that's on me. I have to take accountability for that. So as all of you have been saying, and I know Gail wrote it for sure, is that we're all a work in progress. But unless we embrace ourselves and fall in love with ourselves first, we will be in a work in progress for the rest of our lives and doing a lot of hard work. So yes, we're a work in progress because we're always learning, but that doesn't mean it has to be hard the rest of our lives. It gets easier as we know ourselves. It gets easier as we fall in love with ourselves. It gets easier as we change our vibrational energy, because we attract those people in our lives. I love when people are calm with me, and because I have a moodiness to myself, you know, I have a temper. And I love when people like call me out on it calmly. They're like, okay, I'm just going to go in the other room while you have your little temper tantrum. You know, they kind of make a little tongue in cheek fun of me, but they're not degrading me. They're just pointing out my behavior. And, you know, I'm just going to sit. When you're done, we could talk. And I could get even mad about that. But then once I pull away and I calm it down, because I do well with that. I do well with being pulled out of the situation. I have time to sit with it and then I process it. That's the way I work. And I know that because I know myself. And it's taken years for that to happen. So falling in love with myself has been one of those things, has been to say, okay, I know that about me. So let's just leave me. I'm gonna walk away, not because I'm trying to blow off the situation, because I know me and I need to calm down. It's not you, it is me in this moment in time. Sometimes it's them, but it's just falling in love, allowing myself to fall in love with myself it's allowed me to get to know myself. And somebody had said it before, it's about being vulnerable. And you could be vulnerable with yourself. There's no judgment. I mean, you could be judging yourself, but that's where you have to like own that and say, that's enough. What's the point?
Well, by owning, people, there's so many words out there. Like, remember when there was like authentic and mind shifting, and there was so many words out there about owning. And I think everything the badass Buddha just said, we've all been through something. So what do we take away from it? Be truthful with yourself. I think when you pull the curtain from what stands between you and all the lies you've been force fed, and actually feeding yourself with, because it's easier than acknowledging the truth, then guess what? That's how you begin your journey to self-love. The cultivation of self-love, I've written about this, cultivating, self-trust, self-belief, self-respect. They ultimately all trail right to the doorstep of self-love. You got to trust yourself enough to know that whatever decisions you've made in the past, you've made them. They're done. You can't fix them. And whatever you're stepping into now, you are choosing to do so. So you got to trust yourself enough to know that you really can't see where you're going, but you're trusting this is your path because of whatever reason. But you got to trust yourself, because cultivating self-love, it's a job, because it's like an octopus. So be honest with yourself. And like we like to say, nunca te engañes, o deje de engañarte. Okay? Because we try to tell you never lie to yourself. But at this point now we're saying stop lying to yourself.
Yes. Nice. Yeah.
Because the love is there. You are the light of love. Everything you sought after in a man. Gail wrote something, and she said, I believe I stayed in a relationship I should have left because I thought the pain I was in was less than the pain of leaving would be. Fear. Let me tell you something. When I left the love of my life, I left him being in love with him, but I just couldn't, stubborn. And I was like, I had no mentor to tell me how to navigate, because he had all his good qualities was up here, and I was leaving because of the one down here. Okay. But I had nobody to say, what are you doing? You can do this. I didn't have nobody. I was like, get up and go. All my life was get up and go. I didn't like where I was at. Packed up, I'm out. Let me tell you, that was the second fully furnished apartment that I had lived in for 10 years. The other one I lived in for 4 years. And then there was one to come that I wasn't aware of, that I just packed up and I left. I wasn't happy. I didn't want to be there. I left. That was me. So that's what I did. And so then a year later, I met someone. After 2 years, I couldn't stand the sight of him. I couldn't stand his smell. It was disgusting. Why I stayed 7 years total? Same thing. Because I believed that was my punishment for hurting the man that I was in love with.
Yes.
And they say every relationship teaches something. And I was like, what the hell? He couldn't teach me that. He was narcissist. He was disgusting, a big baby. He was just everything you can think of. And I didn't know that. You know how I learned what he was? When we started talking about narcissists, I said, oh my God, he was. Anyway, back to the story. So
glad I could educate.
I stood there an extra 5 years for no reason. But I was like, what was the purpose of this? Let me tell you something. And that's why I always thought, that was karma, because I hurt him. You know, a year later, he still told me, come back, we can make it work. And I was like, I don't think so. And I wondered, why did I marry my last husband when he wasn't my type of man at all, in any sense of the word? Then I discovered the 7-year relationship, even though I was disgusted with it, it was at the end of that relationship when my dad died that I stood away. We were living in Florida. I stood away over here in Connecticut. He was sending out my resumes to get me back. See how narcissists, they'll try to control you, manipulation. So I get a call from this place 2 days before Christmas wanting to interview me for a manager of a thrift store and the supervisor of a crew, a 3-staff crew with 5 disabled individuals underneath them. So I was like, listen, I can't go over there until after the holidays. He goes, no, I'll be out until after New Year. Why don't you come on the 4th of January, 2008? So I was like, all right. So I said, you passing out my resumes? He's like, yeah. Anyway, I went. So a month later, I left him, moved back in with my daughter in Florida. 6 months after I started that job, I met my husband. And my assignment was Eric Chapman.
Yes.
Although he loved me, it was the cleanest love with no inhibitions that I have ever felt. He did not like the spotlight, but when I was performing at underground poet in the evening, underground poets in all these venues around Tampa, and it's dark in there because you're on the stage, just poet spotlights. And he would sit there, have his little sip of Hennessy, and quietly, but he would go. He said, I'll always be in the shadows, but I want you to shine. Anyway, I believe Eric was my assignment to teach me what I needed to teach. And my purpose with being with the 7-year one was because he actually sent resumes out without me knowing, which led me to a job, which led me to meet my future husband. So whether narcissist, manipulator, whatever he did, now I look at it and it's all full circle. So am I going to hate myself for the decisions I made? No, because when you take the time out to balance it out, there's always something in there. And if it's not, oh well, we have a lot of work to do. But always go back to yourself. Always go back to yourself. Always go back to yourself and find, listen, learn, discover what love is. It's only a 4-letter word, and so is hate. Which one are you going to choose for you? The world is choosing a whole different vocabulary for you. Which one are you going to choose for you? Go ahead.
We're having a reprimand here. That's why I muted. No. The dog wasn't behaving, so I muted myself. Yeah, you brought up something very good about talking about feeling like you were punishing yourself for what you did to by hurting him. And then that's why you stayed in that relationship. And right there, that all has a lot to do with self-love as well. When we punish there's one thing, punishing ourselves. I mean, that might be a thing that we feel is necessary. Like we have to sort of do this to ourselves, but to go that long, that's where we start to push out like we're not loving ourselves as much, because self-love is also about recognizing, owning it, talking to the right people and saying, you know what, I mean, I know like you never were able to really have a conversation with him and apologize or say anything because he would not, after a point, take in the information from you, and I could see where the punishment would come in. I mean, I punished myself for years for all kinds of stuff that was so ridiculous because I believed the story and I didn't love myself enough to say, you know what, that story is such BS. And why am I even playing on to that story? But it was handed down. It was person to person to person from me to me, because in the end, I did not love myself. Because if I loved myself, I'd be able to wake up and be like, okay, you know what? That's BS. That's not okay. The way you're speaking to me, the way you're acting towards me, the way you're manipulating me, calling them out on it, because I didn't love myself enough, which means that respect goes along with that.
Well, it's said that those who've experienced, childhood trauma, difficult relationships, any number of other painful experience, the job of learning to love yourself is more difficult. But then tell me, on 1 to 10, how many people have not experienced those things? I had a mother who was fully present and absent at the same time, so I think that we've all suffered some childhood trauma. We've all picked an asshole at one point in our lives. But I think that you got to bet on the house, and you're the house of love. You're the house of gratitude, of kindness. How many people have you fed? How many people have you clothed? How many people have you gone out there and given a hug because they just look sad? How many people you held the door open? You are the light. So I think you got to turn it around and bask in it. And we're going to hurt, and we've been hurt, but that's in the past. We can't bring that now. We're struggling with what we're struggling today. My whole life, right now as I know it, is not what I planned 2 months ago. Totally not what I planned 2 months ago. And things happen, and shifts are made, and detours must be taken. And in this process that I'm in now, I am solidifying where I'm going to be in going forward, because it has to be on my terms. See, people will have expectations. Oh, well, this happened, so now can you step in and do that? And I will do the best I can with what I have and what I am willing to give. Because my love for me, for my sanity, for my peace, for me rebuilding this, which is my sanctuary, comes before. Because then I can give you the best of me. But remember, things are going to shift in a moment, in a thought. Someone will die, will take their last breath. Boom. Now what? And there's going to need arrangements that need to be made in a hurry, whatever's going to be the case. But never stop believing that you are the most important person in your life. And yes, we have to be kind, and we have to be grateful, and we'll do things to assist others with great intentions, but don't close the door on yourself. Just tell yourself, okay, I need to be away for a couple days. I need to have an unlimited amount of days to fix or to absorb this situation or to set someone up. Give yourself permission to be somewhere else, but knowing you're going to come back and complete this self-image puzzle. Does that make sense? Badass.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was writing comments and catching up to people. Absolutely. I want to also comment something that Madeline said. This is really key. She said, I don't think I've ever believed that I let myself be loved truly because I didn't think I loved myself.
100%.
And that is very true. It's
100% true.
How do we expect to be loved when we don't love ourselves? So we end up looking for love in a way that we don't even know. We don't even know what it is. And we're trying to fill a void. And oh my God, the dog's licking my armpit. That's I'm trying to pet her, and she's like worked her way into the poncho and like licking my armpit. That was very interesting. But anyway, it's about I've been there too, Madeline. That has been my whole entire life. I don't think I ever really truly understood what real love was. I definitely didn't understand respect. I didn't respect myself. Therefore, I didn't really truly respect other people. Um, it's taken me up into just in the last few years to really understand love. And I still struggle with conditional and unconditional because I was raised with conditional. Most of us are. Most of us are raised being conditional. So that is a big thing. It's what else did she write? She says, I've learned the last year and a half that I am the lead in my own story. It's my own fault, my own responsibility. It's true. But we have to also be very careful with that. We are taking accountability, but also you have to be careful with that because sometimes you fall into the category of saying that you don't deserve. Well, I made the bad mistakes and I have to be accountable. Maybe I didn't deserve. No,
You think so?
It could be, sure.
I think weak people would.
What?
I think a person who's weak-minded would think
Well,
that.
I was weak. That's what I'm trying to say. Like I've been there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's the moment you say you don't deserve, any of us, we all deserve to be happy. We all deserve to be loved. We all deserve to be respected. I think that's the key right there is we have to get out of that headspace of saying, I don't deserve that. I did this in my life, so I deserve, like I did something bad in my life, so I deserve, and it's funny, years ago, I didn't really date a lot of guys. And when I was about 21 years old, I had a summer fling. I was working at a place and I was getting ready to start my senior year in college and I was working over the summer and this guy fell really hard for me that worked there. And I started dating him, and he fell so hard that he actually broke up his 3-year live-in relationship, which he wasn't happy with anyway, from what I had heard. And he wanted me. And in my head, I'm like, dude, like this is summer. Like I'm going back to college. We're not going to stay together. We're not compatible like that. Well, so I got back to school and about a month into school, I had to break it off with him because he just wanted to keep seeing me. Well, are you coming home this weekend? Blah, blah, blah. And he wrote me this scathing letter. He wrote to me and just said, you're an awful person. I hope you never, he was like awful. You broke my heart, blah, blah, blah. And do you know that letter affected me so much that I guilted myself for years saying I didn't deserve to be happy because I hurt that person so much. And that's precisely why I chose half the people I chose to date after that. That's a main player right there, because I really thought that I deserved to be treated like that, consciously and subconsciously. And that's exactly what I got. I ended up dating right after him. I started dating somebody that I didn't even really like, but fell for him for whatever reason. And he hurt me so much. And I stayed with him and I ended up marrying him. And then broke that. And then once that marriage ended, then was single for a while, couldn't find anybody. And then started dating the next person, which I ended up marrying. And that person started hurting me within the first 6 months to a year of the relationship, emotionally and mentally, but I stayed with him anyway. So once I got out of that fog and said, that's the biggest crock that I've ever believed. Like that is such stupidity to have taken that note. I cannot control people. That's the thing. It's like, I didn't mean for you to fall that hard. That's on you. You can scream at me all you want, but had I been a different person when I got that letter, I would have been able to look at that and said, I'm sorry you feel that way, but that's on you. Like, sorry to feel that way, right? To be able to walk away from that. Yeah. My whole life could have been different, but that's because of who I was. It was such lack of self-love and respect for me that I deserve to be not loved and respected by other people.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you. Because, that goes deep. And it's just like what I said with the 7-year one. 7-year one is because I was in love with Robert. That's it. And so I compared everything and they were so different. And so that was the stuckness. But you know what I learned after the 7-year one? Even when my husband was paralyzed with ALS and I get a phone call that Robert was having kidney failure. It was totally different from that 7. That 7 year taught me more and helped me grow more than anything. I told my husband, who was paralyzed, this is what I heard. If anything happens and he's hospitalized or he gets sick, I'm going to Connecticut because you understand what he means to me. And my husband, with the little ear things in his nose, said, yes, I totally understand. And that's how you learn. And that's
Wow.
how I learned from that 7 year. I was not going to bring that in because let me tell you something. Being a child, suffering childhood molestation, no protection for that, being, raped with my 2 year old sleeping next to me, and having all of that happen, I've always known that I was the best person in my life. Because when I did and got up and walked up and did what I had to do after those atrocities in my life, and I never let them bend me down or take a life of victimhood or patheticism or promiscuity, then
Me.
I,
You did
I
that. I
knew I
did.
was on the winning side, right? So I store at the mall. They didn't have it. They're gonna order it for me, waiting for it.
Or library. Library would probably have it. I bet you.
Yeah, or I buy all my alchemist books at the Goodwill. They're only $1, but you got to look through the books. But I mean, Amazon too, you can get it for you. It's amazing. Mira Jaja, I'm so proud of you that you're gonna read it, and then we could talk about it. But listen, the thing is, love comes in different stages and different places in your life. But it's there. It's right there. It's just, when you get that birthday gift and you open it up and pop, everything pops up like slap magic, all the confetti. I received one for my birthday, opened it up, and all these fake $100 bills started pouring out, and it comes with a little cake or butterflies come out. Come on, somebody tell me they know what I'm talking about. That's the love. That's sitting right there, waiting for you to take that ribbon out so it can pop out. Go buy yourself one of those and surprise yourself, because that's so that you can get an idea what that is inside waiting. And maybe you've been opening it little by little, but because it hasn't been a full effect, you haven't felt it. Sometimes we need that.
I want one of those.
Cantazo.
I think next year for my birthday, I want somebody to get me one of
Okay, good to know.
the butterflies. I love that thing.
Yeah, and so you just, you know what? Some of us have been so conditioned that if we don't receive un cantazo, then we're not understanding. Oh, it's here. Oh, it's coming. Instead of those little the hairs raising up on your arms, or you just get a little twitch and it tickles, and you're like, "Oh, what's that?" And you dismiss it because it wasn't this big thing. Pay attention to yourself, every little thing. When you feel like, oh, what's that? When you feel like somebody's whispering in your ear, but nobody's there, pay attention. You're the only one who's gonna notice that. And your love has been swirling around you, and it's been like trying to get your attention. Do it. Focus on you. And if we're gonna work on steps, because I would say, hey, the badass Buddha and I had a conversation, and I said we need to talk about the steps, because we talk about from here to here, but it's the journey, just like in The Alchemist. It's the journey. It's never the destination. Because once you reach that end of love, oh, you're gonna feel like, oh, good morning, Margarita. I love you. We're gonna have a great day. Even when I'm sick, my granddaughter looks at me a couple days ago like, "What are you doing?" So, but it's there. You're here. You're one. It's cohesiveness. It's you just waking up to it. You having the valor. How do you say that in English? The gumption, the guts to look in that mirror and say, "I love you. You're the best thing in my life." But say it with feeling.
And that's all next week. Next week is we're going to be talking about Tuesday, your first love, self-love at any age, and we're going to be talking about centered self. And then on Thursday, love on the daily, how, when, and how frequent, and the
Yes.
frequency.
And I
So
want
we're
to
going to be
thank,
knocking it into you.
yes,
Nice.
everybody. Madeline, thank you for pushing The Alchemist, because people really, I talk about it all the time. Um, we've talked about Mock Tub, and we've shared this book throughout our time. You know that the Badass Buddha was on a mission to get Paulo Coelho to be a guest on the show, but I don't know, we lost
I
how to
never
reach.
could get to him. I think I'm going to try
Yes,
again. I'm going to try again.
but that's how full of love we have been to introduce this to you. But as with anything in life, it wasn't the right time. Now it is. So it changed my absolutely. That's why I've read it 9 times. And I was going to the thrift store yesterday, but we got a phone call in it, so we had to leave. But every time I go to the thrift store, I buy them and I gift them to people. Or every time I read it, I have to own a different book and read it. Those are the ones I save. But what I'm saying is that everything has its timing. And if we're talking about all this with such tenacity, then that means it's time. Because we don't know what's happening the second half of this year. But when you love yourself, you can walk through fire with no problem. There's no fear. Okay?
Perfect. Perfecto. All right. So thank you everybody for coming on, and happy first day of February. So this weekend, get your Alchemist book, start reading it, finish writing your What Am I Tolerating from leftover from January, and really reflect on what you love about yourself. And if that's really challenging for you to write down, then all the more reason to do it. So we will see you on Tuesday. So anything else last minute, Gladiator Guru?
All I want to say is when you are in love with yourself, you can meet anybody where they're at and understand them and then make a wise choice for your life. When I said I'm here right now, not by choice, but I don't even know what to say, but I'm here because I want to be here. And that's when you allot yourself the time to be somewhere different. You grow, you learn, good and bad, but that's what happens. And then life unravels, unravel with it. That's love.
Yay.
And that's it. And did you do your closing already?
No,
Oh.
because I just wanted to grab the last person that jumped on. Melissa came on real quick, so I just wanted to
Hi,
say.
Melissa Hernandez.
All right, so yes, we're closing up. So have a great weekend, everybody. From the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And from the Gladiator Guru, mi gente, remember to breathe in the beauty and breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.
Namaste.